While traveling to San Diego, Cal and his sister Becky engage in a conversation about their decision to run away from home due to Becky's pregnancy and their parents' negative reaction. Doubts start to arise in Becky's mind when she suddenly feels nauseous, prompting Cal to pull over near a church so she can vomit. As they prepare to continue their journey, Becky claims to hear a boy's desperate cries for help coming from the tall grass nearby. Cal decides to park the car by the church, and they respond to the voice, discovering that the boy has been trapped in the grass for several days. In that moment, they notice a book on the side of the road and hear a woman's voice from the grass instructing the boy to stop shouting, based on the volume of the voice. Cal assumes the boy is close to the road and decides to venture into the grass to assist him. Becky follows while attempting to call 911, but her phone loses signal as they go deeper into the grass. Upon realizing that she has lost sight of Cal, Becky starts speaking loudly to locate him and suggests they return to the car as something feels off. However, before they can reunite, Becky recites a risque rhyme loudly, causing confusion for Cal. Initially, her voice seems to come from his right, but suddenly it shifts to his left. They then agree to jump in order to determine each other's location. While they manage to spot each other during the first jump, they inexplicably find themselves much farther apart after the second jump, despite not having walked any distance. After jumping, Becky falls into the mud, causing Cal to panic and run towards her for assistance. However, Cal ends up falling into the mud as well and is shocked to discover a deceased dog named Freddy surrounded by flies. It becomes apparent that Freddy had been there for quite some time. Hours pass, and the siblings are unable to locate each other or find an exit. As the sun sets, they come to terms with the fact that they are trapped in the grass field. Becky attempts to call her brother once more, but exhaustion sets in, so she decides to sit and wait for Cal to find her first. Suddenly, a creepy figure emerges from the grass, but it turns out to be a man named Ross. He offers his assistance in escaping the field, explaining that he has discovered a way out, but hasn't left yet, because he is searching for his wife and son, whose voices the siblings had heard earlier. Although Becky is cautious of Ross, she has no other option but to accept his help, and they begin searching for Cal together. More time passes, and Cal continues to call for Becky without success. Disappointed, he is startled by something. It turns out to be Tobin, the boy who had been calling for help earlier. Tobin comforts Cal and mentions that it is easier to find things once they are dead, which unnerves Cal. Cal questions if Tobin had intentionally led them into the field. But Tobin explains that he and his family entered because they had also heard a man calling for help and have no idea how long they have been there. Tobin reveals that his sister will soon be dead, leaving Cal to wonder how the boy knows that Becky is his sister. Tobin responds by saying that the rock revealed the truth to him. Evidently, it is the rock that teaches one how to listen to the grass and gain knowledge about things. Tobin then starts leading Cal towards Becky. Meanwhile, Ross and Becky engage in a conversation about her baby, and Ross suspects that the baby's father is not with her. While walking, Becky comes across medicine bottles and scissors on the ground, unable to comprehend how they got there. When she looks again, she realizes that Ross has disappeared. She calls out for him, but he does not respond, so she changes her focus to calling out for California as she searches for any signs. Suddenly, something grabs her and pulls her into the grass. Meanwhile, Tobin takes Cal to a small area devoid of grass, where a mysterious giant rock sits in the center. Tobin encourages Cal to touch it, but as Cal approaches, he hears whispers resembling tribal chants. Just as Cal is about to touch the rock, Becky's screams are heard. Cal immediately runs towards the sound of her voice, disregarding Tobin's warning to stay away. Suddenly, the day changes to a clear one, revealing a truck stopping at a gas station on the same road as the church. This truck belongs to Becky's ex, Travis, who has come to search for the siblings, since he finds nothing at the train station. Travis continues his journey and discovers Becky and Cal's car parked near the church. Upon inspecting the car, he notices bugs and dust, indicating that the vehicle has been there for weeks. Travis begins calling their names and searching for them. However, there is no answer. Then he goes into the church, but it is also empty. On his way out, he notices a book on the ground and picks it up, only to see that it has Becky's name on it. Suspecting that the siblings have entered the grass field, Travis decides to go in as well. He folds the grass and follows the sun so that he can remember the way back. Unfortunately, every time he takes a step, the grass unfolds itself. After a few steps, Travis realizes that the sun has moved from its original position. Despite his confusion, he continues moving until nightfall, exhausted. He stops to lie on the ground and looks at a photo of Becky. Suddenly, Travis is startled by Tobin appearing out of nowhere, as whispers and laughter can be heard in the tall grass. Tobin reveals that he knows Travis's name and that he is searching for Becky. He offers to take Travis to her. Without hesitation, Travis follows Tobin, only to be devastated when he discovers Becky's lifeless body in the middle of the field. Travis clings to her and cries, while Tobin explains that the grass does not move dead things, making them easier to find. When Travis looks up, Tobin has vanished. The next morning, Travis wakes up to find Becky's dead body right beside him. He takes a necklace from her body and resumes his journey. Suddenly, he hears someone and calls out for help. Tobin responds, and Travis calls out to him again so that the boy can locate him. However, the Tobin who appears is clean and healthy, and he is accompanied by his mother, Natalie, his father, Ross, and the dog, Freddy are present, indicating that the grass field is trapped in a time loop. Suddenly, Freddy enters the field and Tobin follows, disregarding Natalie's warnings. In that moment, Travis realizes that Tobin has managed to escape the field and tries to warn him not to return. But it is too late as the boy is heading towards his family. Natalie believes she hears Tobin nearby and separates from the group to search for him. As night falls, Ross is searching for his family alone and stumbles upon the enigmatic rock. The following morning, Tobin is calling for help while Becky and Cal are once again outside the field with the car. However, this time Travis is also in the field. Upon hearing Becky's voice, Travis calls out her name, surprising both siblings. Travis explains that he came to find them, which Becky finds difficult to believe. Suddenly, they hear Tobin reciting Becky's rhyme, and Travis follows the sound to locate the boy. Becky does the same and is reunited with Travis, creating an awkward moment. Shortly after, Cal arrives and clearly expresses his dislike for Travis being there. In that moment, the group discovers Freddy's lifeless body. Adding to the confusion, Travis informs the siblings that they have been missing for 2 months, but they find it hard to believe as they only left 2 days ago from their perspective. Suddenly, Becky senses someone watching them and urges them to leave. Travis carries Tobin on his shoulders to help him find a way out. Luckily, Tobin spots a building in the distance, and they begin walking towards it. Cal asks Travis if he informed anyone about their disappearance, hoping that someone will come looking for them. But unfortunately, Travis did not inform anyone. At that moment, Becky experiences pain in her stomach, prompting Travis to inquire about the baby. Becky reveals that it is a girl and allows Travis to feel the baby's movements. Suddenly, a phone rings, and they are shocked to receive a call from someone who sounds like Becky, crying and pleading with them to protect Travis from Cal because they will continue to cause harm. The situation seems unbelievable, but they decide to continue moving forward, unaware that someone is observing them from the grass. Suddenly, Becky slips in the mud, and as she falls, she has unsettling visions of a baby, tall grass, and unfamiliar people approaching her. This frightens her and causes her to faint. Cal and Travis rush to her side, but just then, Ross appears and offers his assistance, claiming he can guide them out. Travis informs him about the building they had seen earlier and lifts Tobin. But to their surprise, there is no building in sight, only grass everywhere. Ross cryptically explains that this is how things work in that place. Despite this setback, the group continues walking and eventually arrives back at the rock. This time, they observe that the rock is covered in carvings, and Ross somehow senses that it represents a higher knowledge, which he explains as he touches it. Everyone finds Ross's behavior unsettling, and he encourages Cal to also touch the rock, promising him knowledge as well. However, before Cal can do so, Natalie emerges from the grass and intervenes, warning her own husband to stay away from them. It is clear that she is terrified of Ross, and she tells the others that he is lying. She reveals that she had previously seen Ross and Becky together, but Becky was not alive and Ross had tried to harm Natalie. Ross denies these accusations, leading to a heated argument. Meanwhile, Becky witnesses the visions once again, but this time she also sees Ross in the grass, appearing supernaturally. Frightened, Becky urges Travis and Cal to leave. They try to convince Natalie and Tobin to come with them, but Ross continues to manipulate them into touching the rock. Travis takes action and cuts the rock, sparking a quarrel that quickly escalates into a physical fight. As the men exchange blows, Becky implores Cal to assist Travis, but Cal refuses. While the fight ensues, Ross persistently insists that Travis should touch the rock and eventually overpowers him, emerging victorious. Ross then turns his aggression towards Natalie, demonstrating his complete loss of sanity as he brutally attacks her with his bare hands. The rest of the group flees from Ross and encounters Freddy, whom they decide to follow until they reach an abandoned building. Once inside, Travis and Cal blame each other for the chaotic situation, igniting another argument. Cal accuses Travis of abandoning Becky and wanting her to terminate the baby. In response, Travis accuses Cal of having inappropriate feelings for his sister. This leads to a physical fight between Cal and Travis. Just as the fight starts, Ross arrives and attempts to break up the altercation. The group quickly decides to escape and heads towards the roof, where they spot a church in the distance. However, reaching the church would require crossing through a grassy area, so they brainstorm alternative plans. Suddenly, Travis sees Freddy running by, but the dog vanishes when it enters the grass. This leads them to believe there may be a hole in the loop that can lead them out. Travis investigates further by standing on the edge of the roof, but he slips and falls to the ground. Cal notices but does nothing to save him. Tobin witnesses the incident and Cal tries to explain himself, but Ross approaches. The group flees again, but Becky refuses to leave without Travis and becomes suspicious of Cal. She walks away from her brother, and Cal tries to follow her. However, Ross stops Cal and reveals that he knows the truth about what happened to Travis. Cal attempts to escape, but Ross prevents him from leaving and holds him down. At that moment, a multitude of bodies emerge in the grassy field. Travis, surprisingly alive, rises to his feet and begins searching for Becky once again. He calls out her name and she responds, but they are unable to see each other. Frustrated, they both lay down in the grass and resume their conversation about their unborn child. Travis expresses his happiness with Becky's decision to keep the baby. However, Becky confesses that she had initially planned to give the child away, which was the reason for their trip to San Diego. There was a family there who wanted the baby. Distraught, Travis vows to find a solution. Suddenly, Ross appears and attacks Becky. In the struggle, Becky manages to grab a pair of scissors she had found, but Ross quickly disarms her. He then forces her down onto the ground, with intentions of taking advantage of her. However, this gives Becky the opportunity to retrieve the scissors once more and stab Ross in the eye. As rain begins to fall, Becky sprints away in fear, only to be horrified when she realizes that numerous people made of grass are approaching her from all directions. These peculiar individuals seize her and drag her into the grass. Moments later, Becky finds herself lying in the mud in front of a rock. She retrieves her phone and dials a number, which happens to be the same call they overheard earlier warning about protecting Travis from Cal. Suddenly, the grass people return and encircle Becky, causing her to scream in pain as her body goes into labor. The visions resurface, matching the drawings on the rock. After a strenuous effort, Becky hears the sound of a crying baby, but she is unable to see it. Suddenly, the ground trembles and a large gap opens up between the rock and her, revealing numerous people clinging to the branches of an old tree. Trying to escape, overwhelmed, Becky screams and retreats before exhaustion takes hold and she loses consciousness. When she awakens moments later, her first concern is for the baby. Surprisingly, it is Cal who responds, soothing her and offering her water. He also holds a baby and shows it to her, bringing Becky a sense of relief. As she closes her eyes again, Cal begins to feed her, and Becky, feeling famished, consumes it all. Cal claims it is grass and seeds, but Becky detects a different taste and panics when she realizes she is consuming human flesh and that Cal is actually Ross. Meanwhile, Travis is severely injured but continues his search for Becky. Eventually, he discovers her alone on the ground, and when she asks about the baby, Travis touches her stomach and realizes the baby is no longer there. Overwhelmed with grief, he cries, and Tobin reappears to inform him that Ross has killed everyone. He further explains that Ross will continue to pursue them and harm them repeatedly. Terrified, Tobin begins to cry, prompting Travis to comfort him and promise to protect him from any harm. Travis then confronts Ross, challenging him to kill him instead. Ross immediately emerges from the grass and attacks Travis, disregarding Tobin's pleas for him to stop, using a bone as a weapon. Ross defeats Travis and proceeds to go after his son. Tobin attempts to flee, but Ross catches him and tries to force him to touch a rock. Suddenly, Becky intervenes and strikes Ross from behind, causing him to drop Tobin. Travis regains his strength and attacks Ross, ultimately killing him by strangling him with grass. Travis then goes to Becky and embraces her while crying, unsure of what to do next. Travis approaches the rock despite Tobin's warning that touching it would trap him. Ignoring the warning, Travis touches the rock, which causes him to feel strange. Suddenly, a red light emanates from the rock and spreads throughout the field, seemingly purifying the area. Travis now appears eerie, resembling Ross, which frightens Tobin. The boy attempts to run away, but Travis stops him and asks him to come along. It becomes evident that Ross was telling the truth, as the rock has granted Travis knowledge of the grass field. Travis leads Tobin towards the exit and instructs him to warn Becky and Cal to avoid entering the field again. I hope this will break the cycle. Then, he hands Tobin Becky's necklace and pushes him out of the field. In an instant, Tobin finds himself in the attic of the church. He opens the door and steps outside, where he spots Becky and Cal's car parked on the road. They were about to enter the field after hearing someone calling for help, but Tobin rushes towards them and stops them. It's quite strange because his own voice is also coming from the grass, and a confused Cal starts approaching him. Tobin desperately pleads with Becky to stop him and to prove his story. He shows her the necklace given to him by Travis. Becky is shocked as she compares it to her own necklace, and when Tobin mentions Travis's name, it finally convinces Becky to go and stop her brother. Later, Becky manages to persuade Cal to depart, and they bring Tobin along in their vehicle. However, instead of heading towards San Diego, Becky requests that they turn back because she has made the decision to keep the baby. In the field, Travis overhears Becky's statement and feels content with this change. As a result, he lies down and allows the grass to envelop him. Please remember to subscribe and enable notifications to enjoy similar videos in the future. Kindly subscribe and like to support the channel. Thank you for watching.